Halloween 50 years ago wasn't all that different from a day like today. Looking back at the almanac, I think it was a day in the low 60s, dry. It was a cool evening that night, down in the upper 40s, if the almanac is correct. Any time, for me anyway, when I consider the loss of someone that I was close to, someone whose life meant so much, probably like all of you, I kind of revert back to, and my faith is that crutch for me. Otherwise, so many times, how can you make sense of a senseless world without our faith? No life is inconsequential. I've said many times before, we all seem to have two gifts in this world. One of those gifts is the time that we're given, and another of those gifts is how we choose to spend that time, and what we devote our lives to. We don't have much control over the first. All of us, rich, poor, great, inconsequential, who knows how much time we have. But each of us does have control over what we do with that life, and what impact maybe our life has on others, those that we love, those that we work with, those that we share a community with. And so it's that aspect of what Lieutenant Kraxner was given that we want to focus on today. Because the thing that he chose to devote and live his life for was that of service, and something that's so important to all of us then, and just as important to all of us now. Lieutenant David Kraxner was shot and killed on October 31st, 1966, while conducting a felony traffic stop on an escaped convict who shot a prison guard while being transported for trial. The suspect then murdered a citizen and stole his car. Lieutenant Kraxner located the vehicle and began a felony traffic stop at the intersection of Hwy and Crysler and met there with gunfire. Both he and the suspect were wounded in the shootout. The suspect was able to walk to Lieutenant Kraxner's vehicle, gain control of his service weapon, and there ended Lieutenant Kraxner's life. The suspect was apprehended later that morning and pleaded guilty in order to avoid the death penalty. He's subsequently serving a sentence plus 39 years in prison today. In 1966, that Halloween, I was only 2 years old, so I didn't know Lieutenant Kraxner. But me, like all other people in Independence that fateful night, were probably doing what they always do. They were living out their regular lives, their regular routines, and weren't aware of the struggle that took place here on that Halloween. There were two struggles. One struggle was for right and for justice and for the safety of others. And the second struggle was ultimately for David Kraxner's life. The former of those two struggles he lost that night, or that morning. But the first struggle he succeeded in. We'll never know whose safety, whose life, what other officer, or what citizen that his actions that night might have spared and saved the life of. So ultimately that goes back to what I talked about at the beginning, about choosing to spend our life in an endeavor that reflects on our character, our morals, and on what we believe. And I believe that Lieutenant Kraxner fulfilled that obligation in his life. It's hard to say the impact that a loss like that has had on the City of Independence Police Department, and most importantly on the Kraxner family. So many times to long the touch, the conversation, time spent with one that we love. So that sacrifice that night was not only Lieutenant Kraxner's sacrifice, but the sacrifice of each and one of you as well. So on behalf of the police department, we don't only honor and remember his sacrifice, but your continued sacrifice in your family for your loss and what you suffered with because of the actions of that convict on that night, that escapee. When I said earlier I didn't know David Kraxner, maybe in a sense I did, because I can see the input and the contribution of a family that's continued in this community for 50 years. I can see the commitment and the contribution that men and women in the Police Department of Independence continue to make every day. And so when I look at that continued life, and those continued sacrifices, and that continued commitment, not only on the part of the family, but on the part of the officers that wear the same uniform and badge today, I feel in a sense that maybe I did know David Kraxner. And because of his sacrifice and his legacy, I'm a little bit better man and a better officer today because of those who were willing to make that ultimate sacrifice those many 50 years ago.